What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another collaboration here on the YouTube channel. Guys, give yourself a round of applause right now for coming through. And as you know, man, I have my brother from the Black Male Travels, brother Aaron. I'm gonna let him introduce himself and what his channel is all about.
Hey, what's going on, family? This is Black Men Travels. We talk about traveling the world to different countries, opening up business and finding different opportunities and exploring our options.
All right, so I want you guys to give him a round of applause. And I've been knowing Brother Aaron since 2018, before he actually started the YouTube channel. He's been very active here in the Black Manosphere community. The travel community is a part of the sphere. It's a big part of the sphere. And so I want to shout out to all the brothers out there. Some of y'all don't like me, but I still love you anyway, though, because I'm also a passport bro, and I'm Dusty. But, brother, we was talking about doing a show because recently you moved from Medellin, Colombia, and you're now in Rio de Janeiro, which is, you helped me go around when I went to my trip in 2018. But we were actually going to talk about that just in general, like why you moved. But as we were talking, the last video that we did about Colombia, we'll post it here. It got a lot of views, but a lot of Black women had some negative things to say, especially some of the content creators. What were some of the things that you were seeing from our last interview that you got a lot of emails about and stuff like that?
Well, some of them took like little clips, and it was guys too. Took certain clips and they kind of sectioned off in certain sections to make it seem like the robbing and drugging was sincerely exclusive to just brothers or Black men getting robbed and drugged. And in the video, I clearly said that it's just not exclusive to us. It's, everybody gets robbed in Colombia at times, even other Colombians. So I want to set the record straight on that. And just other things about misconceptions about, Black men traveling the world. It's a lot of opportunities overseas. Your money goes a whole lot further. It's a lot of investment opportunities. But I see just a lot of misconceptions about Black men traveling. I just want to set the record straight on that.
Okay, let's talk about that, because that is the real topic of the show, is that Black men, and I've been to Brazil one time. And I know that there's a lot of Black men in the Dominican Republic. There's a lot of, I think it's even more in Colombia probably now than in the DR. And it's a lot of you brothers now in Brazil. Those tend to be the three most, and I see some brothers in Africa. I ran some guys in Uganda when I was there last time, but mostly it's in those three countries. And there is a belief that Black men are just doing nothing but tricking overseas, and they're not building anything. And as an insider, you're the one African American guy that runs a lot of the travel content overseas, and you're an authority on the matter. What do you have to say about that particular thing?
Well, you do have a lot of Black men building different businesses overseas, and all these countries you just mentioned: Brazil, Colombia, DR. You got brothers owning bars in Thailand when Thailand was open, and in the Philippines. And sometimes this is like people will try to take, a negative aspect of something and try to put that on top in order to persuade people to not go overseas, to not travel overseas, when that's really just a small portion of it, in an honest opinion, bro. It's a lot of things that benefit men and women when you travel outside. Even the mental aspect of it is very positive. And, we don't want to just make something that seem like it's just exclusive to just Black men, when the sexual tourism thing is really other groups of men. You know what I'm saying? Doing that mainly. And I just want to just make that clear. Like, Black men just have passports. We're starting to travel more, get our passports, and it's new to some people. Like, okay, these guys traveling now. I remember when I first created Black Men Travels, the sister at GoDaddy was just like, "Oh, they do." I'm like, yeah, Black men starting to travel the world now. So I'm gonna clean that up a little bit, man.
So let me ask you, because you just said something very important, like the peace of mind or the mental frame change is different. And I experienced that when I'm in Uganda. It's like, it's not as stressful as it is been in the States and I'm in Africa, I feel a little bit more at peace. I feel like things have slowed down for me. And we all know, like a lot of African American men in America, it's a stressful environment, you know. Well, so is what? So let's talk about that and why Black men are possibly relocating to these places, because they feel more relaxed, or they feel more stress free.
Well, you know, it's a beautiful thing to be able to like travel around and not being worried about being pulled over by a racist cop. It's a beautiful thing to walk around and just, you know, it's a sense of freedom and safety that you have. You know, like the police ain't checking for you, especially in Brazil where you blend in a lot of times, man. And I'm not to say they don't have their issues, they social issues with the police in these countries. I'm just saying like, it's a different vibe, man. It's more laid back. You know, you're an expat now, or you know, you're a tourist now, and it's just the stress level goes down tremendously, man, tremendously. And we were just speaking about this at a barbecue yesterday. You know, like, man, a guy asked me, he said, man, do you feel comfortable riding around, taking a road trip all around America? And I told him straight up, I was like, in certain parts, nah, I'm just not gonna go. I knew that before I even turned 10, certain places not to go in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? I don't even remember who told me. I just knew that, hey, in North Georgia and certain places in East and West Georgia, you know, Boughton and stuff, you hear about the Klan and stuff. You don't have that here for the most part. You know what I'm saying? You can just travel freely and do what you want to do out here. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It's how it should be. You feel me? Like it's how life is. You can kind of live life on your own terms overseas in a lot of the cases, man.
You know, I shout out to Al Grease, and he did. Yeah, he's a really big play. I don't know if he's still in Brazil, if he's back in the States, but the last video me and him did was 100,000 views. And you know, we hear a lot about a lot of African American men that have moved to Brazil, but his depiction of frustrated, which went viral here just on YouTube and with the travel community, even Charles Tyler was you know, like the late great Charles Tyler was motivated to contact him. We kind of felt that there was some steam between African American women and these Black men who are going over to Dominican Republic and Brazil. And obviously, you know, these women are saying things like, oh, you guys are just out there, you're not doing anything out there, you're repatenting, you're just having sex with these girls, you're not even marrying these women, you know, these girls are poor and all this other stuff. And when you hear those arguments from some Black women who are still concerned enough to talk about it, what is your perception of what they're saying, and is it true to a certain degree?
Listen, man, you got doctors, lawyers, professional. They call them professionals, business owners out here. I think it's a misconception to a certain degree, you know, with the whole third world country thing. And, you know, we're dating women that's, you know, walking around, you know, with no shoes on and trying to take advantage of them. That's like one of the best misconceptions. Another misconception is the whole colorism thing. I hear that a lot, that, oh, you know, you Black men going out there and you getting the whiter Latinos or the mestizos, you know, the light-skinned Latinas and all that. And I just showed you a clip of an Afro Brazilian club, and you saw nothing but fros and dreads and everything.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the Black
men,
no weaves. A good majority of the Black men are dating Afro Latinas, Afro Brazilians.
Okay.
You know, and these women have jobs. You know, I met a chick that was a lawyer a couple of weekends ago, you know, at a bar, and we had some drinks. So I think my ex-girlfriend, she had a partnership with her own t-shirt company in Colombia, you know? So it's like, that's just a misconception, man. And the relationships and a lot of times are just a little bit more genuine because American men aren't as demanding as some of the local guys, you know?
Oh, so, let's talk about that, because let me cut you off, because a lot of times, you know, you'll see even, and it's not just a Colombian man or Dominican man thing, but a lot of times, you know, we talk about that in Black America, while the African guys and African American women don't really see eye to eye, right? Because a lot of guys that come from another culture, they are more demanding, and a lot of Black women don't know that Black men are not as demanding as other men, you know, across those areas. Let's talk about the demands that some of these foreign guys that you have seen will request from their women in comparison to dating somebody like yourself?
Oh yeah, like it's just certain things that's already in place in the culture that's already locked in. You're gonna have to be cooking and cleaning for your man, you know, a lot of times, man. They don't play. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got Colombian homies, I got Brazilian homies, I definitely got Dominican homeboys, and their relationships be like it's one way, you know, it's not it's their way or the highway the majority of the time. I'm just being straight up honest with you. So I think in certain cases, you know, women might hear this, they might see the movies, so they got her groove back and all that stuff, and they find out that things ain't always what it seems overseas. You know, the grass is not always greener on the other side. You know, and I've been hearing, you know, female YouTubers be like, oh, the girls over there only want green cards, which is not true. You know, when you go up to meet a woman in Brazil, the last thing in her mind is a damn green card. That's even if she give you her number. You know, that women are all desperate and they just want to get to America and they just using us, but yet they go over here and they get married. And I'm like, I don't see that at all. I don't think I've ever seen that, but I do see, you know, brothers getting in relationships overseas and marrying the Brazilian women and Colombian women. You know, I see that pretty often. So yeah, man, the culture is a little bit more demanding and it's a little bit more set in. Like the family structure is still there for the most part. And I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. You know, shout out to all my foreign homeboys. But as far as them, you know, being sexually faithful and all that good stuff, the majority of them cats kind of do what they want to do. And a lot of these women gonna be in for the rude awakening when they find out that old Pablo got like 6 kids by 3 baby mamas all over the island. He might have told you he didn't have none, you know, but that wasn't the truth. You even got terms like Sankey Panky in the Dominican Republic when they just pretty much use women for money. You know, same thing in Jamaica. You know, one of the girls I used to date back in the day, she bought a Jamaican dude a car and then she didn't hear from him no more. You know, so it's a little slippery on both sides, man. In Colombia, one of my homeboys, he called himself a gigolo. He'd be laughing all the time, like, yeah, I've literally see him walking some of these women to the ATM machine.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? And these same women will look at me and kind of cross their eyes, stick their nose up, like, oh. And me and my homeboys, we just laughing, like, yo, that's our homie. We know him. This dude has plenty of women. He has a Venezuelan wife and child. He just literally using you for a little come up. But you know, they get lost in the sauce a little bit. They think that, you know, the romance is real, but a lot of times it's not. I'm just being straight up honest with you. I know sisters in Colombia right now that live there, that's been living there, and they don't date Colombian guys. It's like when they see Black Americans, now our value is even inherently higher because they want to date us. Right. Because now you know what they expect. They know we ain't gonna steal shit out their purse. We ain't gonna drug them or nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, there be all types of stuff going on overseas, man. Women be getting,
and we're not saying that all Colombian guys do that, but some of the bad experiences they've had. Of course. Yeah, because, you know, people will be like, oh, you're talking about Colombian guys. But yeah, so from their experiences, they're like, okay, we've seen enough. Maybe we had it better at home as we. So when they see y'all, they're like, oh my God, so glad to see you. So let me talk about this, because also, you know, you made, I think you're one of the first guys that have really come out and made this point that relationships between African American men and Colombian women are more genuine. So it's not like, oh, this guy has a lot of money, because, you know, some guys living overseas might be living a moderate lifestyle and they can just, their dollars might stretch more. They may have some investments or something like that. So it's not like they're over there making like so much money. Like, you know, maybe like in New York City stockbroker. But, you know, the women, and also want to say this, there are guys in Colombia that got a lot of money, guys in Brazil got a lot of money. Oh yeah. They got way more money than the guys who come from America. But you said that these ladies and the African American men and the women relationships are more genuine because those women might look at African American men as being more liberal, easier to get along with in a relationship. What have you heard from the women that you've dated in comparison to the guys that they dated before? What have they told you about dating African Americans?
I remember one time I went to wash my dishes one time, and my girl was like, "Hey, that, you know, men don't wash dishes." You know what I'm saying? Like, relax. This is, you know, I got this. So yeah, man. You know, as far as them, and I really haven't heard too many stories. You know, I do hear sometimes that, hey, I just date, you know, American guys, or but for the most part, like, yeah, you know, I will say this about what you mentioned earlier about being genuine, man. You know, in a lot of these cultures, especially in South America, man, they want the romance more than anything. You know, this is a romanticized culture. So yeah, they definitely want guys to have their stuff together and have money like every woman on the planet does. But at the same time, you try to talk to a Colombian woman or Brazilian woman, they'll walk right past you. You know, like you still gotta the rules still apply. You still have to date. You know, you
Right.
still gotta go about your normal dating and courting the women. But it's
Right.
not a situation where they only going to be with you for a come up or a green card because they really want a relationship with a man. Like
Right.
in their culture, it's not normal for them just to be moving around for years, single, notoriously single, like in the States with some of the women in the States where they just been single for their whole life basically, or they had flings of relationships. Versus they want to be able to bring a good man home to their family. Be like,
Right.
look, this is Aaron. He's American. He does this. He's a video editor. He does this, and you go with it then. And like I said, in most cases, they're Afro-Brazilian, Afro-Colombian, or Afro-Latino women.
Right. And the women are getting, a man that's more willing to be in a relationship. She can have more equality in the relationship. Not right. So for her, it's like, oh, I'm in a relationship with a more of an understanding man, and I've been looking for a more understanding man, and that maybe I might want to be a little bit more acceptable. Me having a career, or me acceptable me having doing more things, going places. He's more open to the world, and a lot of women they can appreciate that, right? They want to live a nice life and things like that. So, and that's what gets lost. Because even I've been in Africa, to be honest, I can tell you, like, I'm doing not so bad, but hey, women don't just open up the door for me because, oh, you're an African American and you have an American accent. No, if they don't like you, they still don't like you, and they still want somebody to be nice to them. They still want somebody to call them every day. What are you doing? Why you haven't messaged me? Just like any other woman. Now, obviously, yeah, it could be some dustiness in there here and there like anybody anywhere else. But the rules just don't apply because, oh, I'm from Sacramento, California, so just pull your drawers down. I'm here, baby. You still gotta holler. You still gotta date. You still gotta do all that other stuff like anybody else. And then American might help you get in a little bit better, but it don't keep you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Very, very, very good point, man. And once again, like I said, the dating rules still apply, man. You got some women that be on some janky stuff too. You still got to date and you still got to look for red flags as well. You still got to do your due diligence and see if that's a good person. Like it's just not a plug and play situation where you just going to pull up to a country and then boom, you have a beautiful woman that's going to be submissive within a relationship. You still got to do your homework, man. You still got to date like you would date in the States to a certain degree.
Let's talk about this misconception, because one thing I like about your channel is you break a lot of the stereotypes. Because even me, I have met a few guys from the travel community, and I was like, man, because we know some of the same people. There's only a very few that I knew that was doing very well. Like, shout out to brother Edie Cole. We can put his channel up there. He got a beautiful restaurant in Puerto Plata. There's great food from what I hear. Yeah, you have brother Greg. I forgot what his restaurant was.
Flip Flop.
Yeah, shout out to him. Tailor Made Dreams out there. So there's a few guys you knew about that were kind of on the entrepreneurship journey, and some guys are doing like very, very well. Like there's a brother from that has the Envy. I heard about him. But you do have your brother's situation in Dominican Republic where a guy got arrested. We won't call his name. There was certain things, and so he's like, these guys are not going out there that have any real skill sets or talents. But then when I was talking to you, you was telling me like, yo, man, there's dudes out here that got like a shitload of Airbnbs. There's a dude that threw a party and he made this much money in a night, and he has a beautiful bar. He has a soul food restaurant. Like, let's talk about those guys that are coming from America and they're flourishing well in the country where they can't even speak Spanish probably. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, man. Like, once you get over there and you spend some time, you start recognizing the opportunities. You start meeting the right people and asking the right questions and start networking. You see a lot of brothers that say, you know what? I'm gonna open up a bar right here. Aaron, can you find me a little, a spot I can rent a bar at? Or I want to buy a few properties out here. Aaron, do you know who I can go? They're doing financing for Americans now in Colombia. So once you start seeing the economic opportunities, man, you see brothers owning these restaurants. You see brothers owning these skytop bars and everything. And you say, hey, man, start asking questions. How did you get involved? How did you do this? And brothers are always willing to share that information, because the thing about living overseas is Americans, our culture and our language naturally bonds us. So you want to see another American do well. Dog, when friends of mine like leave Colombia, everybody be like heartbroken, like, oh man, when you coming back? You know, like I got a friend that wants to open up a bar here. Hey, I'm gonna hook you up with my friend that has a couple of bars already. It's like you can really build overseas, and your money goes so much further, bro. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of politics behind this. You got to be definitely, careful on, where you decide to build at and everything. You want to make sure you cross all your T's and dot all your I's. But when you look at, the prices of the apartments that you can buy, the prices of what you got to pay your employees versus what you got to pay your employees in the States, at the restaurants and stuff, you'll see that, hey, man, investing overseas is very beneficial. And you start to set your roots up in a whole entire another country. So you can bring younger brothers over. You can bring family over. When things might hit the fan in America, you can say, hey, I own 2 restaurants in Colombia. So y'all can come out here and y'all can work in my restaurant or something. Different economic opportunities, man, are extremely important to Black Americans. Extremely important. And a lot of people want to do business with Americans because the Americans are known for doing good business and paying their bills on time.
Mm-hmm.
I have no issues finding and renting apartments wherever I go, bro. Whether it be Brazil, Colombia, DR, because they want to rent to Americans. They know we pay,
Mm-hmm.
So that's an advantage point. When you're American, yeah, it's difference between Black and white Americans, of course, in America. But when you overseas, you're American, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Black,
Mm-hmm.
white, male or female, you're American, regardless. And there's no way to get around that. I don't care how pro-Black you want to be. I don't care. If you're a female and you think, oh, I'm different because I'm a female. No. You are American. When it comes to that dollar, you're American.
You're American. Let's kind of talk about that, because what I've noticed is with a lot of different people, that talk about the Black male experience, there's this idea that, okay, and there's some guys out there, like shout out to my boy Aces Live, he's doing his thing. He's really transitioned to a powerful YouTuber. He's even bigger than me. So I remember when he was not even that great. And then like, man, he's just like doing so many nice things. And so he's been trying to change that, kind of narrative. But when you think about it, it's like, okay, you hear all these chicks, they got, nice booties and everything like that. But the entrepreneurship path that some African-American men are taking to these Latin American markets gets overlooked. Okay. Why is it that the successful Black men that are in Colombia, and we even knew about them in the 80s because Ebony wrote an article about these upper middle class African-American men that were going to Rio de Janeiro. And at that time, you had to be elite as a Black man to do something like that. The normal guy, even if frustrated, there is not no normal Pookie and Ray Ray dude that's in a documentary. Guys are firefighters. Guys are, big time business owners, small business owners. So this path to entrepreneurship, why do you think that these African-American men are being overlooked, or it's so underground, it's not being talked about that these guys are being successful in these countries?
Because they like to drive a narrative for the most part. When you see Black men being successful outside a normal structure of, maybe hip hop or being athletic or, basketball or something, it kind of doesn't go with the status quo to a certain degree. They want to kind of keep everybody in a box. And yeah, men have been discovering different countries and taking advantage of economic opportunities for a very long time. But it's just not getting out there because of the internet. So that's probably the main reason now that we have YouTube, like you mentioned, Aces Live and other guys, creating YouTube channels and letting people know that, hey man, you can build a business over here in Japan. You can build a business over here in Cartagena. And I think the cool thing is, I think the younger guys coming in, they know that now. They're going to Brazil and they're looking for actual economic opportunity, just as far as maybe just looking at the women or looking just to, vacate for 5 days and go back to the States. Now it's like, okay, wait a minute. Oh, I didn't know I can open up a restaurant here. Oh, this brother own this right now. So that's going to motivate him to say, you know what? Wait a minute. Hey, maybe I can open up a restaurant. And then we're going to give him all the information he needs. We're going to welcome him with open arms because we look at it like, yeah, we can build our own little system economy over here. It's going to help. Like you said before, like it's so much money in these spaces, man, that it's enough money for everybody.
Right. Well, now for these guys because some guys have been living overseas, and I know this because I've lived over out of the United States since 2015. There is that argument, and people still said it about me, like, yo, if you couldn't get into medical school, in America, you won't be able to do well somewhere else. And, you hear that people make that same comment, which is, hey, if you were not successful in America, you're not going to go to another country and then become successful, because, your level of success in America determines where you have, more easier ways to do things. There's a bigger economy. There's more skilled trades. You go to a smaller market, let's say like Uganda or Colombia, where there's less opportunities. How are you going to do very well there when you weren't doing very well in a great environment like the United States of America? When you hear that kind of positioning, how do you feel about that? And is that statement true?
I'm not gonna say it's. I don't think it's true at all, man. Like, first, I'm gonna say, go where you're most valued. That's number one. Number two, like, why not take advantage of certain avenues like everybody else? You don't have to go to medical school in America if you can go to the medical school overseas. Where you benefit in both ways. You learn a different culture. You might be learning a different language, and I think. See, I'm not sure about the medical field, but those same degrees you can use them in the States. So you could possibly, come back to America and do your trade. So. Yeah, man, I think, go with the best avenue is possible, like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. How are Black men with, going to Brazil where you are right now? Because you were in Colombia and you're in Brazil. So you're in Spanish, and in Portuguese, I heard it's more difficult than in Spanish. So how are Black men going into some of these environments? And I know Colombia has more of a better relationship with the United States, so it makes it easier to get visas. It's easier to set up a retirement. It's easier to do these things in Colombia. I don't know about Brazil, but you're going to a country where you don't speak the language there, and in Brazil, I think has almost like no hardly really. When I was in Rio, at least for the few days I was there, like almost nobody spoke English. How do you excel in a place like that as an entrepreneur or as a Black business owner?
Usually on average, it takes about 2 years to learn a language or have an understanding of a language where you can at least communicate. The beautiful thing is that people really teach you the language, but it's a lot of courses you can take. Like you can get your student visa and you can take Spanish in classes and Portuguese classes. It's a lot of free content on YouTube. I study a couple hours a day. Sometimes I get my Spanish and my Portuguese mixed up a little bit, but I still can communicate and get around, especially in Colombia as far as Spanish. So if you take your time with it, man, and it's a beautiful thing starting to pick up on a new language, man, because it puts you on a higher level. Now you're a Black man that speaks multiple language. That's powerful, man. The fact that you can communicate with pretty much, I think if you know Spanish, you can communicate with 60% of the world now or something crazy like that. And the same with Portuguese. These are sister languages, so they're very similar. So the more Spanish when you start learning Portuguese, you'll say, okay, these are similar words. And I know a lot of brothers that actually, when I first came out here in 2017, I didn't know too many brothers that spoke Portuguese. But now that I'm here, I got a couple of guys that speak Portuguese. It's just a process like anything else, man. You can do one word a day, a couple of words a day. You can study for a few hours a week, whatever. But the cool thing is, I think Black people have a gift for languages. I know Haitians that know 4-5 languages. They know French, Spanish, and English. So, it's a process, but it's definitely doable, man. If you spend enough time, and you can take your time with it too. Like I said, the average person takes about 2 years, man. And the people going to teach you the language. Like, I think I learned more Spanish just being in regular conversations than I did, when I was in actual Spanish classes in Spanish school.
Let me ask you this one thing, because last time we talked, you were in Medellin, you're in Colombia. A lot of Black men have kind of narrowed that choice down to, it used to be the DR. I don't know what happened, because you used to love the DR, but then you chose Colombia and then Brazil. What made you move to Rio de Janeiro, over Medellin?
Well, I grew up in Atlanta. Atlanta's landlocked. And as much as I love Medellin, had an office over there, had friends and family over there that I love very dearly. I just felt like it was time for a little change. I wanted to grow the brand. You know, the intention was always to be 6 months out of the year in Colombia, then 6 months out of the year in Brazil. So that was the main decision. And plus, you know, I love the DR as well, but I love the infrastructure a little bit more of Colombia. You know, and I love Brazil because, you know, it's so big and massive, and there's just so many things to explore. And I thought it would be good for the channel to get, you know, the put information about Brazil out there for the brotherhood.
Okay, so if you had to pick one, that if you had to stay, you know, permanently in one of the countries, and you know you had to live there forever, which would you pick out of Medellin and Rio de Janeiro?
Man, you know what? Right now, because I've only been out here for about a month, you know, so I'm still learning my way and everything. But as of now, I would probably pick Medellin. I know that's going to shock a lot of people because I love Rio de Janeiro, but I love the people in Medellin. You know, like my family, all my friends are in Medellin right now, and I speak, you know, pretty decent Spanish. So right now, I would choose Medellin, Colombia, because I mean, I really love that city, man. That city really showed me a lot of love and took care of me, man. I had no issues, no problems at all when I was in Medellin, Colombia. My last day leaving, you know, I was getting showed so much love. People couldn't believe I was leaving. You know, they're like, man, when you coming back? I'm talking about Colombians. It was just a beautiful thing, man. They welcome me in with open arms. So right now, I would have to choose Medellin at this moment.
Okay, Medellin. All right. Well, man, tell everybody about, you know, more or less about why they should subscribe to the Black Male Travels YouTube page and the Facebook group.
All right, so Black Men Travels is a very informative channel, man. I like to give a lot of good information about, you know, living overseas, or, you know, where to go. We can link you up with different tour guides. If you join a private Facebook group, it's a lot of information in the Black Men Travels 2.0 Facebook group as well. We get a little rowdy in there at times, man. We having a good time. O'Shea's in the group. That's a couple of other YouTubers in the group, and we like to go back and forth. So the whole main thing is just information. Information is key to, you know, going overseas, living overseas. A lot of guys have gotten their passports now. A lot of guys are talking about buying, you know, investments overseas, opening a business overseas, and that's what it's all about. It's just a network of Black men traveling the world and connecting and communicating with each other.
All right, and so every time me and Black Male Travels is a video, we got some really good ones, some over 100,000 views. The last one was 40,000 views. Let's see where this one gets us. And guys, I really thank you for supporting the channel. Check him out at the first comment pinned at the top. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell. Also check out the Black Male Travels Facebook group. We'll put a screenshot there. I'll also put it there on the first comment pinned at the top. And as you know, the buffoonery remains at an all-time high. We out.